Good job. Congratulations, everybody.
It was some full moon tonight.
Almost. Got another day. Almost. All right. We are back up and running. Good deal. So, there are obviously cars parked in here, so cameras. I think you guys already know how to handle your cameras. So let's get into why we're here. So this space used to be something. This used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney Mansion. So, first off, spirit boxes, I'm not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. You're going to get the answers from your spirit boxes. This will be our first location where I withhold information purposely. So who the heck were Charles and Eliza Pinckney? They had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses. Do you guys see why I look for secondary verifiers at this point? I hope so. Because we need to know who the heck we're talking to. The son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. It's a pretty big deal for us, but I hate politics more than anybody here, so we're going to move on. Eliza married Charles at a young age. I'm not going to tell you what that age is, but it's not going to be numbers like where the colonial times that she came from. So if you're going to ask her how old she was when she got married, you're not going to get numbers like 13 like what we have on there. It's according to today's standards. The reason I bring this up is because her husband, Charles, was over double her age when they married. So you can ask her how old she was or how old her husband was, what the age gap is. Again, we get all 3 of those digits. But she married him because her father over in England thought he was dying. He wanted to see all of his children one last time. She didn't think he was dying, so she basically stayed put and said, yeah, I'm going to stay here and get married instead. It's 1744, so she didn't actually marry Charles for a green card or citizenship to stay away from her dad. She did marry Charles out of love. We're not even a country yet. Green cards weren't even a thing. So everybody kind of looks at me funny when I say that. I'm like, yeah, green cards. They're a thing. People do that these days. But at any rate, so she was right. Her father did not die right away. Instead, he starts sending her gifts from England to this space. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. You guys have been in town for at least an hour that I know of. You've seen the word indigo somewhere. I can promise you that. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. You're wearing it right now. Nope, there's actually 2 of you wearing it tonight. That's actually nice. I normally only have 1 reference because nobody wears blue jeans anymore. So, but with that said, she didn't know what to do with these indigo seeds when she got them. She had to learn from her slaves. Once she actually, figured out what they were, they helped her experiment because it's not always hot here. Once she figured it out, had a little cash crop going, she moves it to a plantation, calls her father and says, Dad, the rice plantations are going downhill. We can make a killing with these indigo seeds. So, now we have an international businesswoman in colonial times. This is absolutely unheard of. Now that's her business. Let's get into the weird stuff because that's why everybody's here. Including Tim. I'm going to keep calling you out, getting you to talk. So, Eliza was the second wife named Eliza and Charles back to back, 5 months apart no less. His first wife Eliza dies in January of 1744. He marries the indigo seed planting Eliza in May of 1744. So 5 months after his first wife's death. So, gentlemen, that's either really smart or really stupid with the same name. I don't know how you guys want to look at it, but I look at it as pretty darn stupid. So, if you want to figure out which Eliza we're dealing with, ask the maiden name. We've gotten both of them here in the past. Well, the mansion. Let me give you the quick layout of the land. I don't think I gave you that yet. So the mansion actually sat in the front of this space, facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden, where she experimented with her indigo, was lined up with 5 Church Restaurant and came all the way across. And we are standing where the servant and slave quarters were for the home. So we're going to stay within the confines of the lot, but let me give you some more weird stuff that you can actually ask about. You can ask what happened to the mansion. It's obviously not here. So I'm giving you a clue that it's kind of a tragedy, right? And if you get an answer, ask what year that happens. At times, we will get a specific date, the month, the date, and the day of the month, and the year. It just depends on the night. The children, I told you there's at least 1. His name was Charles, signer of the Constitution. There's more. You can ask how many and what their names are. That's it. Reason why is because there's a tragedy among those kids. If we poke the bear too hard, and I will tell you we're getting really close to the date of that tragedy, all activity will stop, including any EMF that Tim's devices might be catching through here. It'll go down to 0, and nothing else will happen throughout the rest of the space. So just so you know, don't mess up the tour for everybody by asking about that poor child. I will tell you what happened before we leave the space. Eliza's death is where she's really open. That's where you can ask her how she died, what she died from, where she's buried, and what U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Again, very specific questions. Notice that none of them are yes or no answers. So, again, we're going to spread out in here a little bit. We're going to stay within the confines of this lot, but we're not going to be going near any vehicles, especially filming any vehicles. We definitely do not go in between vehicles. These cars belong to people that work down here, and they don't know what we're doing out here. However, if I was a car thief, Steve's device would be the first thing I'd have because I know how long they've been sitting here, basically based on their heat signature. So if we were car thieves, Steve would be our leader. We're going to blame him. So perfect. I think I'm down for that. But again, we're going to have some fun in here now that his camera's up and running properly and he's still recording, so that's super awesome. We're going to crank up those spirit boxes. I may give this team another spirit box to work with that's a little bit more open so you all can hear it. It's just not as active as, say, those two that I already handed out. But it is 75% accurate, so when things pop out of that guy, it is 75% accurate to the space that we're in, and it is still relatively new to the tour. Again, I have 5 different styles of spirit boxes, so we'll kind of see how this goes. If we're getting a lot of activity, I may break that one out myself and start using it and then hand it off to them. So let's spread out a little bit. Let's have some fun in here. Okay. I'm going to get the other one set up, and I'll be with you guys in a minute time to take notes.
Are you going to remind us of some of the questions to ask? I mean, you're giving us a lot of information.
I would say the easiest thing is what happens at the end. Start there.
Anybody here? Come on. What happened to the mansion? What happened to your home? You talking to it? What happened here? Come, talk to me. Talk to me. Nick. Nick. Get Nick. Nick.
What you got going on?
Is this just a reflection of those lights?
Move your camera. I'll go the opposite way again. Put it right back in there. Yes, because it is moving at the exact same speed. So I always have a cloth to wipe off the lights to make sure there's no reflection coming off. So let me wipe it off.
I'm thinking those lights there.
It's actually more than likely coming off of the lights in the camera.
Oh.
So again, that's part of the reason why I went with the LEDs versus bulbs. Just because the bulbs gave us like this ugly bobble in the middle of it, and I was like, yeah, this is ugly to watch. It's hard to watch. I like the whole screen to be lit up.
Okay. I got excited for a second.
You should. I want you to be excited for a second. So I want to try to remove any kind of reflection from the lights. A little better, huh?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Good deal. Yeah, see, it came from the lights.
Yeah. I mean, I see it again, but...
Is it back? And it might be a reflection
it's a little
of
bit
that
different.
building. If you see it start taking shape while you're being still, or if it's moving around when your camera's still.
Yes, I'm moving. It's moving with the camera.
Yeah, okay. So this spirit box tries to omit all the white noise and only gives you words, but it doesn't always work out that way. But the words that do pop up that we can actually make out, which is usually only about 10 or 12 per night, 75% of them are accurate. Love this thing. Super fun to see all the different spirit boxes working together.
Come on, guys. Talk to me. guys. What happened here? What?
Guess what word I got?
What?
Get out.
Get the fuck.
Get.
Did you go tell Nick?
Get out.
Oh, I got the chills. Let's get the fuck out of here.
I love it.
Why should I get out? Why? Tell me why. Show me. Show me. Nick. Tim. Did she tell you?
What?
Did she tell you what she heard?
Get out. Yep.
Not what I heard, but it came up with.
Yeah, come here. Where's Nick? I got an orb here. Right here. See, it's not moving with the camera.
Do you know why? Because that's a heat thing.
No, this is a foundation. Is there fire here? Marty, Tim. Marty, Tim. This thing's moving closer to me.
So you're in a bench that feeds a restaurant that does have.
No,
heat
look,
coming off
this.
of it.
See this thing right here? This was up here, and it's come closer to
I'm
me.
telling you now, you're in a heat.
Marty, I bet you that was a fireplace. There was a fire here. Prove me wrong. Nick, I got something over there.
Okay, so you were recording, right? Let me make sure you're still recording. Point the camera at me. Yep, you're still good.
Did Marty tell you what words came up?
Yep, sure did.
It's right over around here. Again, I don't see that.
So, where is that, like right here?
Yep, right where you are.
So there is like an L of light right here, and it looks like somebody, like there's a definitive L right here.
What does that
There's
mean?
a poured concrete pad, and there is a vent underneath it.
You think maybe that
So
could be heat?
whatever like is going on, like you're not seeing any heat.
Right,
Like you're not going to see any kind of heat.
right.
You're going to see, like I said, orbs and any kind of.
And-
I mean, I've had other like pieces come through. It was so fast, and I couldn't make out what it was, but it was super bright. So I've had pieces come through that weren't like round balls of orbs. What do you got?
Yeah, they got something over there.
Yeah. So
too.
whatever that is on the ground, it's probably just the way the
Okay.
Let's see what's going to touch that.
What, Marty? What's the matter?
We need to move on. I'm not going to stand in a parking lot the whole time. We have 6 places to go.
All right, all right.
These guys are already 40 minutes into it.
Relax. We're here to enjoy, have fun.
Alright.
Go with the
I
flow.
think we need to move on.
Go with the flow. Okay, so we don't ask any
I'll
more.
go with the flow for 20 more minutes and then
Oops.
I'm done.
All right, well, we won't ask any more questions.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Don't ruin this.
Try not to, but Andrew, I'm not going to stand in an empty fucking parking lot for more than 10 minutes. We need to move on.
Alright, Marty, can you think you can handle 2 of these? This one you have to listen to. So it's already playing. The only thing you need to worry about is where the mute button is, which is right here on the right-hand side. I'll give you the cues of when to mute it. So it's only going to give us words from time to time. So it's going to cut out the white noise. So if you hear anything out of it, let me know. It's sweeping both FM and AM at the same time.
Got it.
Okay.
Alright.
We're ready. He's waiting by the gate.
Oh, gotcha.
He didn't know which way we were going.
Oh, we're kind of just wandering around and seeing like we should be following him. Like he's the one who's going to know where the high EMF spikes are. So
He is?
yep,
No,
because
but
he's the
I thought
one with
your
that
tour
device.
said there were like 5 different locations that we did.
Oh, there is.
There is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're not done here yet.
Oh.
I'm going to give you all the answers. I'm not going to leave you all hanging.
Okay.
So, but you guys haven't super given me anything yet where I'm like, oh my god, except for that red that showed up there, which is obviously relatable to where we just were.
I got this cute.
So if you stay on that screen, they won't keep coming up. You have to kind of keep toggling
Like
back and
refresh?
forth. Yeah. Well, not refresh, but just toggle back and forth between the 2 different screens.
Got it.
So, anything crazy going on with your team? Okay. Amy, you getting the gist of how to listen to that now? Now that I've given you a few extra examples?
It's hard to make it all out. It might be easier for them both.
And it's basically this where we're going to spread out like this. It might be easier for you to put both of them.
Yeah, okay.
But in a minute. You want to put them in a minute? Usually restricted to where the cars are parked when I have specific sized groups. Unfortunately, in Charleston, there's glass everywhere. I don't know why they don't.
I know. I see that. I've noticed that.
Alright, so those of you with videos, go ahead and kill your videos. On yours, that's going to be the circle all the way to the right on the top of the camera, and then of course yours is going to be the red square. So that way you guys can kind of relax your hands a little bit.
This on the top of the camera?
Yep, it's the only one. You just want to tap it. But again, we're not going to record any.
Gone.
We want it back on in here.
Oh, I do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
So-
that one.
Yeah, he's back on. We know that one for sure. So people used to live here, and when I say people live here, the list is basic. It's not very long at all. It's only like 2 to 5 people per year that they actually recorded of people that actually lived here. So the names I commonly hear are Benjamin and John. Benjamin and John both lived here in 1801. I don't have anything specific about like that year that would make this a raised emotion for these things to keep happening. But I do kind of have a theory, and we're basically standing on it, which is part of the reason why I love to bring you down here. So I've been touring this location for almost 3 years, and it finally came together probably about 6 or 7 months ago of why the same names keep showing up every 6 to 7 weeks. And it's only the 6 to 7 week location time that I actually see them because I gauge it. Now, we're standing on Belgian blocks. Belgian blocks are actually said to be made of granite. Granite is not supposed to hold any electromagnetic field whatsoever. So, Tim, if you actually put your device on a brick, you should only get a reading up to about 1.1, which is natural from the Earth. So from the past couple of weeks that I've been diving into this even further, we've gotten readings all the way up to 11.7 in that 6 to 7 week loop, where I was actually getting the names of Benjamin and John. Lately, it's been a lot lower than that. We've been getting a couple little 3s, little 5s, so not very high spikes, but still spikes higher than what it actually should be. Again, there's no electromagnetic field in this type of rock. So what we're dealing with here is what they call the stone tape theory. Stone tape theory basically states that if a natural rock, like basically what they're calling this as, the Belgian blocks, and it's coming straight from the earth in the same place, it says to hang on to the consciousness of memories and being able to be recorded back and played back through devices like what you're holding. So, why am I getting those same names over and over again? Again, every 6 to 7 weeks, it's like I'm watching that length of a movie, and I'm only capturing the tail end of it. So I'm getting the same names. Every once in a while, a third name will pop up. The name is Jane. We're going to let this gentleman pass through. How you doing? So the third name I'll get is Jane. That's the third person out of 5 that lived here in 1801 that pops up in that same time frame. Lately, I've also been getting the name David while we're in this location. It's a 4th name, but it's not in that 6 to 7 week long loop. I actually heard it again last night when I was going through the Spirit Box recording. So again, 4 out of 5 names of people that lived here in 1801. Again, I don't call this coincidence whatsoever, especially with the John. The John is specific because there was like 4 different Johns that lived here in a 60-year time span. John will give us his last name when we're in that 6 to 7 week part of the loop. His last name was Johnson. His name was John Johnson. Again, very specific. Before people lived here, Freemasons had a Masonic lodge, hence the name Lodge Alley. So we will get terms like Freemason, Mason, Brick. We've even had the term Illuminati show up. That showed up 6 times last year alone on a radio station, and 3 times already this year. So first off, who the hell is talking about the Illuminati on the radio? That's my first question. Second, why am I only hearing it while we're inside this space? I can't answer these questions other than it's not coincidence that the same terms keep showing up over and over and over again. Again, this is not a space where we can ask questions and get answers, but we never know what's actually going to happen. We have captured plenty of orbs on your camera in this particular space, and I love that camera in this location because it is nice and tight or easy to find when they actually show up. When we're using lasers in this space, I usually have the guest like standing where Jamie is, pointed at this wall, and the person with the camera is pointing this way, so we'll be able to see anything that breaks the laser grid, and it'll shine up like a Christmas tree when it does. So again, very interesting the way we actually use these tools together. And I linger here on purpose because we can't ask questions. I basically want you guys to record here at this point, so that way you can actually see what's going on in the recordings. The next space is another alley. Like I kind of mentioned before, we're going to be discussing dueling. However, I can't take you through that alley like what we're doing here. Why? I've been booted out. I will tell you why I got kicked out of that space, but I still tell the story outside the space simply because it still stirs up enough activity normally to last the rest of our time together because we're relatively close to it. We're not going to take another long trek like what we just did. That's the longest part of our tour together. But we will be cutting through a neighborhood once we get to that next space. We're going to let these gentlemen pass through. Hi guys.
Hey.
Exit this alley, both video cameras turn off because we're going to be cutting through a residential neighborhood. We don't record in any residential areas to make sure that they're turned off, and obviously yours being pointed down. Definitely.
Oh, when we start walking.
Yeah. Well, once we exit,
Yeah.
you know, I want to keep recording up until we get up to the street.
Okay.
So Jamie, definitely keep listening. So put both in if you want to.
Okay.
But again, Tim, your device is still going to give off any false positives because of the parking meters, just so you know.
Okay.
What did you teach, by the way?
No, I was in administration.
College.
Fair enough. All right, let's head up to the next space.
So it's the second time I got the word raw. By the way.
Well,
Yeah. Raw. Which I thought was interesting to me when we did it.
Shut it down, Nick. Shut it down.
Yeah, definitely shut it down. There you go. Yeah, you gotta just do it one little quick clip. So, he tells Amanda to get rid of the doctor because he thinks he's just after her money. To prove that he's not, he comes down here to Charleston. The coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. So it wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston, but somebody walking by, his name is Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop on Ralph for a second because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. RI will show up here from time to time, but we always need that secondary clue to kind of see, because those are the 2 main characters, right? Ralph Isaacs and this doctor. We just need to know who the heck it belongs to. But anyway, he says, you don't want to stay here. He's got a gunman inside. He's going to try to kill you. I can send you over to some friends of mine at 59 Church Street, and you can stay there and you'll be safe. So the doctor takes him up on the offer, and the 2 become friends. But the longer the doctor stays here, the more money he starts to make. His practice is taking off. He's proving his point that he wasn't just after Amanda's cash flow. So what happens from there is that he he knows a man is going to be moving down soon, so he becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. So again, every haunted city you're ever going to go to has a cliched whistling ghost. I can almost guarantee you that. However, I actually have proof of this one, and I'm going to tell you about that towards the end of the actual tale. But him and Ralph go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money than Ralph, which means he has better seats. That's just the way the hierarchy went in the late 1700s. So with that, they talk about these plays on the way home. They went to go see William III from Shakespeare, and they start arguing over the new actress that was in town. The doctor thought she was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. So their argument gets even more heated when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée Amanda back home in Rhode Island, and they go their separate ways. But Ralph, being from here, has friends at the newspaper. He goes to his friends and places an ad telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. The doctor sees this ad and rebuttals with, "Let's go to Jeweler's Alley. We're going to settle this." So they come down, they take their 10 paces, they turn, the doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He did not want to kill his friend, which, by the way, that's often what happened at a duel. There wasn't always a dead person. So he shot his gun in the air, and Ralph has his one shot. He puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. Remember, we talked about the kneecap thing earlier. So the doctor doesn't die either, and Ralph proved his point that he's still pretty angry. The doctor drops to the ground, but his friends pick him up. They carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. You have to remember, he's a doctor. He probably tried to bleed out this bullet himself. So they say as you walk through this very cool alley behind me that you can actually hear the whistles from the doctor. Keep in mind, I used to take my groups all the way through the end of this alley where we didn't have earbuds for the spirit boxes yet. It was all about listening to your regular audio. So if you're going to try to go down there without me and turn on your voice recorders from your phone, I want you to keep in mind that every local knows this story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland Street or Queen Street from the other side throws a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night. After we're done over here, my garage is right there. I have to pass the alley in order to get back to my car. So me and my daughter, we always race to see who's going to throw a whistle first when she's on the tour. So it's a fun little game that we have. So here's how I got booted out of here. Everybody's so interested in this. So this alley didn't always come all the way through. This is where they held the livestock for the city of Charleston. So it was called Cow Alley before it was called Jeweler's Alley. The bricks on the other side are older. Those bricks were sun-dried bricks from slave children, which basically means they had to turn them to sun-dry them and bake them in the sun. There's a full handprint from a slave child and a few fingerprint swipes in those bricks at the other end. I treat those bricks the same way I do a grave. That kid is not staring at that brick in the afterlife. I can guarantee you that. But I always showed it off because it is a part of our history, and it shows how far we've come away from slavery. So again, however, everybody wants to put a spirit box or an EMF detector or something near it to try to capture some activity. It's right outside a gentleman's dining room window. So on November 26th of 2020, yes, a very specific date, my entire team of 10 decided they're going to huddle around this one brick. Well, the person outside the dining room window, it was this beautiful mansion that he just moved into, was not very happy with me and my group. He came out screaming, and my daughter thought it was great because Dad's getting yelled at. But we moved on. November 27th of that year was Thanksgiving. I did not have a tour. I told you I worked in retail for over 20 years. I finally took off at Thanksgiving. So the next day was November 28th, 2020. It's Friday, Black Friday. I have a full group that booked that night, but I get a phone call asking me to either go down halfway, which is as far as we're allowed to go, or reroute my tour. I decide, because every other ghost tour in town likes to go down there in groups of 20, it's not fair for my 10 to work around 20 to 60 people. So I'm going to reroute. And I tell my group, we're going to wing it and see what happens. I don't believe in this story that we're about to go through, but let's see what goes on. And I don't know much, so I'm going to tell what I know. I did not tell them we were going to be discussing female pirate Anne Bonny. Before we leave, somebody hears the name Anne on the spirit box after I was done telling the Philadelphia Alley story. So I was like, all right, maybe there might be some legitimacy there. We get there, I told what I knew about female pirates at the time, and then somebody hears the number 300. I have no idea what it means. The next day, doing the research, Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. We were there on November 28th of 2020, the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. So ever since then, I've been taking folks back there night after night. It is a hit or miss. We're either going to have a lot going on there or nothing at all, almost like what we had going on at the Pinckney Mansion site tonight. Now, as far as the name James that pops up, I want to say there's a James Bean that lived in Lodge Alley. I'm not for certain what year that would have been, but I'm definitely going to, I wrote it down, so I'll definitely get you the link if it's actually there. But this last location that we're going to go to is that female pirate story, and if anything else, I've read more books on pirates since that November 28th date, because I was not a pirate person. I'm a vampire guy through and through, just so you guys know. Pirates were not my thing. I've read more books on piracy than I care to want to ever in my life, and I keep reading them. But we're going to go to one more spot in between here and there. Your earbud is not in, so I'm not going to ask you what's actually showing up on your spirit box. Marty, you got anything coming up on your word list before we move on?
Recently busy boat use string exercise.
Like exorcism? Or like exercise on a bike?
Exorcise?
Gotcha. Again,
Exorcise.
most of it is BS. Unfortunately, it's going to give us...
Sometimes mild monster.
Sometimes a mild monster. Very interesting choice of phrasing there. So definitely keep listening until we get up to that church and cemetery. I'll tell you guys what's going on in that location, and then we'll deep dive into that female pirate. So if you guys want to continue recording with your cameras, you can. It looks like it's going to be a pretty not busy night tonight. So let's go up to the church and cemetery, see what we can capture up there.
All right.
Okay.
Here, like it's only like a 15% chance. It's supposed to like go up to like, it's going to be 89, but feel like 103
Wow,
tomorrow.
look at that church steeple. Tim, look at that church steeple.
We had 2 cancellations for tomorrow already.
Wow.
We're down to 0, so I think there's now take night off. It's going to be that hot. Yeah, but feel like 103.
Giant cockroach.
Oh, let's bring him home. Diane.
I'll show you that, but I'd like to stop here first real quick, and then we'll get Tim a seat. So, that's the wall back there, to Philadelphia Alley that we were just discussing. So notice that there's a gate right in the middle of it.
I see it.
So that gate was basically a shortcut to get to the cemetery behind me for when there was a loser to the duel. So, in essence, remember that the alley didn't go all the way through. So they'd have to go all the way down to Queen Street and back down around to get over to this cemetery so they can go celebrate the winner. But that's why that gate is there. Not a whole lot of people know why that gate is there. I don't even remember where I found that information, but it was like, that is so cool.
That gate went straight there?
Right
Yep.
there.
So, go ahead and have a seat. We're going to chill here for a few minutes. You guys can cut your videos off. Otherwise, it's just going to be me talking. There you go.
There we go.
Alright, so, welcome to the Powder Magazine.
Okay, this machine is worried. It says worry.
I'm a little worried about some of the lack of evidence tonight, so I'm hoping that I'm going to go through the recordings and find a whole lot more than what we're getting in real time. So, yeah. Alright, so we're going to be discussing this little tiny building first. So you should have noticed that there were like crosses on it as you guys were approaching it before you guys sat down. So this is the Gunpowder Magazine. Those are not crosses on the building, those are earthquake bolts. The gist behind earthquake bolts is that they're turnbuckles. So in the event we have another earthquake like what we did in 1886 that I mentioned earlier, you can turn those turnbuckles and it'll straighten the building back up again. It's a great idea, it's just stupid and doesn't work. So, the reason why I bring this up is because these are the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston actually put in, because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. It was finished in 1713. So we are here because this building is what I call a familiar. It's kind of like using a toy to attract a child ghost. This building was being constructed at the same time that Anne Bonny was starting her pirate career right here in Charleston. So, with all of that said, let's talk about a little bit more about this building just so you have the gist of other things that can pop up here. We talked about the Charlestown Wall earlier. Cumberland Street is where the wall existed. So it went up past the Powder Magazine behind me and started going to my right, your left, towards the battery. It locked this Gunpowder Magazine into the corners of it on purpose because it held gunpowder. So, in the event that it actually gets attacked from the water 3 blocks away, those cannonballs from the trajectory are going to have a hard time getting to the powder magazine, let alone getting through the 32-inch thick walls. But we're going to pretend that that cannonball reaches the gunpowder magazine, goes through the wall, and blows up the gunpowder. there's sand underneath those clay shingles up there that's designed to go up in the air with the explosion and fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. It's another great idea, but that doesn't work either. We had another powder magazine closer to the battery, closer to the water, did get attacked, sand went up, the building burned to the ground, it doesn't exist. This one, fortunately, has never been attacked. So, this building took 10 years to build, 1703 to 1713. The story begins in 1708, right in the middle of its construction. Try to follow me, there's a lot of twists. Young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormack. She's with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. Is everybody with me so far? The three of them are running away from his wife. Okay, just want to show you how pissed off she was that she had to leave the damn country. So, alien in Georgetown, just north of here, in between us and Myrtle Beach. Dad buys the plantation. Mom dies pretty quickly. That means you have to send young Anne down here to sell anything from the plantation. Hence why we're here. This is a familiar building. So, back home in Ireland, Anne is kind of a hardcore badass. So they say she actually killed one of her servants when she was only 10 or 12 years old with a knife to the belly. So again, I want you to have that mentality of this young lady as we go through the entire story. So we're going to fast forward. This building is done in 1713. Pirates are coming through Charlestown in 1715. Anne is stoked. She falls in love pretty quickly. Guy number one, James Bonney. Yes, I'm going to keep tally. There's a handful of them. So James Bonney, you can already see where this is going. Dad doesn't approve. They run away to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormack becomes Anne Bonney. Now, as far as when she gets there, James Bonney is not who she thought he was. He's not the Captain Jack Sparrow that she was hoping for. This guy is a privateer. Basically, in her eyes, he's a coward. He's a spy for the British. So, she falls in love again a few years later. Guy number two. His name is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. What did that just say?
I don't.
It sounded like my name.
Yeah, it did.
Luckily, you're close enough to the camera where we can verify that later. That's actually not me.
That was clear.
Yeah, it's not me personally. You'll see who that is here in just a moment. So, let me know what other words you got popping up there.
Interrupt.
He just interrupted us.
Reply.
Yeah.
The bottom ones?
No, they're on the
He's
top.
always the top. The news one's always
Remote.
at the top.
Interrupt. Remote.
Okay.
Okay.
So, we're on John Rackham, correct? So John Rackham is actually Calico Jack. This is the same real person that they based Jack Sparrow from the pirate movies off of, just so you know who this guy actually is. So Calico Jack has his own ship, but Anne wants to be part of that ship, but girls curse pirate ships. You can't put a girl on the crew, they're bad luck. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and hide your gender, you can be part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife as an apprentice at his law firm. So she's like, whatever, I'm a pirate, let's go. Let's put two and two together. We're all adults. Being a female in his quarters, she's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a female. So he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby. These are some friends of mine. They'll help you out. Come back later. We'll figure it out. So she has the baby, but returns with no child. We have no idea what happened to this baby at all. She's also dressed like a female. She doesn't give a damn anymore about hiding her gender. This makes Jack pretty angry. While she was away giving birth to his child, he captured another pirate crew and they're down below deck. Anne's going to go flirting because that's what Anne does. Guy number three. Guy number three turns out to be a female dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have two females dressed like guys on the same pirate ship. This young lady's name is Mary Reed. Her and Mary become friends, possibly lovers, we'll never know for certain, and the British find out where they are. They send their fleet of ships to take down one pirate ship. Anne and Mary are the only two not drunk enough to come up and fight because, with their one bullet flintlocks by the way, because they don't know how to use the cannons. You know, they're new to piracy. So, they're obviously going to get taken. As they're being arrested, she looks at her bow and captain, Calico Jack, and says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." The word dog being very prominent here on a spirit box. The judge, Nicholas Laws, wants to see the two men that fought back so valiantly after he's tried and hung the drunken pirates and their captain, Calico Jack. So Anne and Mary go in front, they reveal their gender. He doesn't care that they're female, he's still going to hang them because they're still pirates. "We plead our bellies," was the last thing they screamed out, hoping to save themselves because pleading their bellies means they're both pregnant. You can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he sends them both back to jail, delays the hanging. Dad is still here in the Charlestown area. He bails out Anne, brings her back home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4. Has 4 children and dies at the age of 84. Yes, very abrupt ending again. Mary Reed dies a year later in 1721 from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. I'm sure it was scurvious and bumpy and gross. Use your imagination. We don't know if either pregnancy was true, what they claimed to be in front of the judge Nicholas Laws. The 2 questions I left out on purpose. The only things I left out that I can actually prove are the name of Calico Jack's ship and the name of Anne Bonny's parents. Everything else you can ask on your own. Figure it out if you want to ask different questions. But those are 2 things that I can prove for certain. We're only going to spend a short amount of time here, and I'm going to be gauging what's going on. Because again, I'm not going to keep this in a space long where nothing is actually happening. This is a roll of the dice. We actually do capture quite a few orbs in this space as well, so it's very interesting with the camera out tonight. We'll see what actually happens. But definitely get those spirit boxes cranked up. I'm going to sit here with Tim, and we're going to see what's going on with his device. We're going to set it on the ground and see if we get any readings out of it. Those of you with cameras, if you do want to go to the front of the powder magazine, the only thing I ask is that you don't interrupt other tours. So again, if you want to go get some footage of the front of it, by all means do so. You can exit the lot over there to your left and make another left to go up this way. But yeah, let's see what we can capture here. Jamie, both ears, full attention. Got it.
Remember the words that you hear.
Do your camera?
Yeah, I am. Tim is not enjoying himself.
Words change. Oh, Catherine. I got a name, but that wasn't any one to mention.
This is recording.
This is where you're supposed to film, right here.
Come on out. We'd like to see you. Come on, guys. Show yourselves. I don't see anything.
No luck?
Nah.
Pretty cool spot here, though.
Well, that was a bug. I think that just flew in front of us.
So what is yours supposed to do? Just sort of fire off like a firecracker or some sort of...
Yeah, it would show like orbs.
Just real bright purple?
Yeah, well, it would show like an orb. You know, like a round apparition type of thing. About that, is that camera?
Yeah, I've been mainly just doing a lot of video and just hoping Nick can, you know, pick something up.
Right.
Maybe tomorrow. Obviously, he has a better eye for this than
Yeah,
I do. I mean,
yeah.
Obviously, it has the blue that's picking up the coldest spots, but I mean, there's this part of the ground obviously that's cooling quicker than the other, so it's trying to get on that. And obviously, this metal over here is still warm from the day, so it's hot.
Alright, let me go back in and hit the parking lot area.
Yeah.
I'd like to look into that cemetery.
Oh, on the east side?
Yeah.
if I would have opened it up about questions about the devices at the first location, we literally would have probably been there another hour.
Oh god, that would be horrible. But
Exactly. And it's happened.
no, but I would
I can imagine
I
that
would
would
be asking you questions about the history that you
So I got a
talked
name, but
about.
wasn't anything.
But that's okay.
What's the name?
Catherine.
I have no reference to a Catherine that I can think of relative to where we are, but of course I can always look at the cemetery histories, but again, I'd have to deep dive into a random person for the actual history.
Well, I appreciate your approach, and
I like it.
unique and different. On vacation, actually, I'm done with technology.
Jamie, what are you getting out of yours? Have you heard anything out of it at all?
God's son, Bible,
Yeah,
nothing about pirates.
and we'll get a lot of religious terms here based on the church, obviously. But of course, like I was telling Tim, I somewhat expect any terms that show up from Philadelphia Alley that will kind of bleed over to this location too. So again, it's a matter of like, will we get things that will bleed over from one small space to the next since we're all relatively close. So again, not everybody can listen to that on a and get it like right away. So again, the terms that I have for me, obviously I have June that showed up twice. Obviously one was a 30 and one was a 19, I think it was. But you have the number 30 by itself.
30 by itself. Yeah, a different location.
Right.
All right, Andrew, you gotta get back to fancy camera.
All right.
How about a 1-minute history of the church?
I don't have much on the church,
No.
to be honest with you.
No? We're doing our history tour tomorrow. Either you?
All right, let's head over to the wall so I can pack these things up.
Okay.
Shut it.
Oh, I only know how to mute
Shut it.
mine.
I'll take it. Yeah.
I was gonna
I'll take
say,
care of
you
it.
should take that
Yeah, I'll
one
take care of
first.
it. All right, so as far as your data goes,